Okay, so now we're going to complete the product details page. In the last screencast, I had a little problem with the cart image not showing properly. That was because in I had put the path to the image in the header image URL rather than the image URL. If we put the correct path in the image URL, it's going to work perfectly. Now what we need to do is set the text to add to cart, which we've done, and the command name to add to cart as well. Now everything is going to be good and ready for programming the add to cart menu. Now in order to program the add to cart menu, what you need to do is go into the details view 1, click on the events, the little bolt of lightning there. Now what we need to do is click on the item command. If you double click in that, it's going to bring up the menu for the item command, which is basically the method that's going to be called whenever you click on the button. Now I've already completed some of this, so at the start I'm just going to talk you through what you need to do. Now at the start, what we need to do is check that the user is logged in. So you'll type if, open brackets, page.user.identity.isAuthenticated, close brackets. And you're going to open the brackets and close them. Close them down here, and then you're going to type in else, open brackets, response redirect, account login.asps, and put a semicolon at the end. So basically, this is going to send you to the login page if you're not logged in. So after your start if, first thing we're going to do is get the product ID from the query string. So we do this by defining an int and call it something like prod ID. That's going to be equal to basically the result from the query string, but we need to convert it to an integer. So write convert dot to int32, open brackets, request dot query string, close brackets, and put product ID within the query string. The next thing that we need to do is we need to get the values from the details view. Now let's look at the details view to get an idea of what we're going to be getting. The details view is basically broken down into rows. As we can see here, the first row is to do with the product name. The first cell is the header, and the second cell is the value of the product. Here is where we display the image, which we're not going to use right now. We're going to find the description, which is the third row in the second cell, and the price, which is the fourth row in the second cell. So if we go back into product details, we're going to define a new details view row and call it name row. Now this is going to be equal to the first row from the details view. So I just called my details view 1, and if we write details view 1 dot rows square bracket 0, it's going to bring us the first row from the details row. Then you can copy and paste that and rename name to description, or DESC for short. This is going to be equal to this is going to be details view dot rows 2. That's going to give us the third row. And then for the price row, it's details view row price view, and that's equal to details view 1 dot rows 3, which is the fourth row. Now we can get the product name from the name row. Now the name is going to be in the second cell, so what we type is name row dot cells 1 dot text, and then for the description it's going to be description row dot cells 1 dot text, second element again, and the price row dot cells 1 dot text. So we've now successfully got the name, the description, and the price all out of the details row. We got the product ID from the query string, and we're now going to get the customer from the page user identity using page.user.identity.name.toString. Open and close your brackets. Next thing we're going to do is define a data table, and we're going to call it cart table. This is the structure that we're going to use to store the cart items. You will need to have using system.data at the top of the page in order for your code behind file to recognize data table. Alternatively, just type it in as is, and then you can right click resolve to import the namespace. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is check whether or not there's anything in the session called cart. If the session cart is not equal to null, this means that the user has already got items in the cart, so we need to handle that. We need to retrieve the cart from the session and then add to it. But otherwise, if there is no cart, then we just create a new table. So this is what we're doing here. We defined a cart table up here. Now we're just going to initialize it to a new data table, and then we're going to define the basic fields or the columns in the table. So we're going to go cart table.columns.add new data column, open brackets. Now the value between the quotes here is going to be the name of your field. This is what you're going to be using to reference this. So we've got product ID, and here we define the type. So it's type of int, and then you close that bracket and then that bracket in the first one. Now you need to set up a new column for the product name. This is going to be a type string. A new data column for description, which is also going to be a type string. The one for price, which is going to be a double. And here a quantity, which is going to be an integer. And lastly, customer, which is going to be a string. Now it is time to add values to the new cart. So what we're going to do first of all is define a new row. So if you type in data row, just call this new product or whatever, product row, or even just dr, let's be short. Now this is going to be equal to, what did we call it, cart table dot new row. Now we're going to add the values. And the first one, dr. Now remember, you need to give it the exact same name as what you set it up here. So I call this product ID. So dr product ID, and this is going to be equal to PID. Next one, dr product name is equal to name. Not name row, but what did I actually call it? Let's see. P name. PR name. And that was product ID. Okay. So this should have been prod ID, because that's what I called it earlier on. And this will be product name. Now we're going to pretty sure this is PR description. Now we need to add price. Now, unfortunately, I hadn't already converted my price into a double, which I really should have done. So what I'm going to do is go back up here, and I am going to I'm basically going to remove the I'm going to strip the pound sign from the currency and then convert it into a double. Oh. And I'm going to set up a double, call it price, and basically convert the string into price. So I'm going to say convert to double and string price. Okay, now spelling is apologies. Next thing is to define the quantity. Now, if we're adding a product to the to an empty cart, we know that the quantity is going to be 1. So we can, at this point, just write quantity equals 1. And